Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of my 2019 Christmas movie review video. So last time we talked about Home Alone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Jingle All the Way 1 and 2, Christmas Story 1 and 2, and Bad Santa 1 and 2. So next, I wanted to start talking about some horror Christmas movies, and we're going to start that off with Krampus. So Krampus is when this dysfunctional family clashes over the holidays. Young Max, when his son of a bitch, when his dysfunctional family clashes over the holidays, young Max is disillusioned and runs. I don't know why I can't talk. And turns his back on Christmas. Little does he know, this lack of festive spirit has unleashed the wrath of Krampus, a demonic force of ancient evil intent on punishing non-believers. All hell breaks loose as beloved holiday icons take on a monstrous life of their own, laying siege to the fractured family's home and forcing them to fight for each other if they hope to survive. Featuring an ensemble cast that includes Adam Scott, Toni Collette, Allison Tolman, and David Koechner, this is a wonderfully dark and subversive must-see film. So, again, this is another one that I really like this one. There's also an alternate ending, deleted extended scenes, a gag reel, a cast video called The Naughty Ones, Meet the Cast, galleries, Krampus Comes Alive, Doherty's Vision, Krampus and His Minions, Practical Danger, Inside the Snow Globe production design, behind the scenes at Weta Workshop Krampus. And there's also a commentary track, which is a pretty good commentary track. This commentary track is one of the better ones that I've seen for any of these Christmas movies. Also, the director of this movie, Michael Dougherty, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he's a pretty good director. This is his second movie. He's done 3 so far. His first movie, Trick or Treat, is a really good Halloween movie. His second movie was Krampus, which is another holiday movie that's really good. His third movie was 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is also really good. One of the best Godzilla movies and I'm a huge Godzilla fan, and that's one of my favorite Godzilla movies. But yeah, Krampus is another one I definitely recommend if you haven't seen it. Next is Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. This one is also about Krampus, and this one's really good. This is another, I highly recommend this one. So I forget how to pronounce this kid's name. Young Petteri, I think, lives with his stern reindeer herding father, Rano, in Arctic Finland. On the eve of Christmas, an enormous excavation at a nearby mountain disturbs the locals and captures Petteri's curiosity. When Rano's reindeer herd is mysteriously slain and children in town go missing, Petteri realizes that the dig has unearthed the evil Santa Claus of local lore, who no one wants coming to town. Petteri's father rounds up a posse and captures the nightmarish creature in an attempt to sell him to the misguided leader sponsoring the dig. But Santa's freakish elves will stop at nothing to free their fierce leader. And ensues is a frantically bizarre holiday adventure that lets the bond of father and son pits man against mythology. Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale is a wildly original reimagining of the most classic of all childhood fantasies and a darkly comic gem destined for perennial holiday viewing. So I highly recommend this one. There's also some good bonus features on here. There's 2 short films that were actually made before this movie that were sort of the basis and inspired the director to finally make this one. But it includes the two short films Rare Exports Inc., which came out in 2003, and Rare Exports Inc., The Official Safety Instructions, which came out in 2005. There's also The Making of Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale, Blood in the Snow, a look at the concept art, animatics and computer effects video comparison, behind the scenes production still photo gallery, and original theatrical trailer from Finland. I highly, highly recommend you to watch this one. I think this one, it's a foreign movie though, so it's definitely subtitled, just so you know. The next movie I want to talk about is actually Santa Claus versus the Martians, and it is actually a bonus feature on Rare Exports. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is it's a public domain film that came out in the 1960s, and it is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Basically, Santa Claus gets kidnapped by some Martians, and two little kids have to save the day, and it is awful. Also, I decided to retire the moonshine eggnog, and now I have like a glass of just regular eggnog over here. See, like, eggnog's good. That moonshine stuff was not that good though. So yeah, next, trying to decide which one I want to talk about next. I guess I'll go ahead and talk about Dead End. So it's Christmas Eve, and like every year, the Harringtons take a trip to their in-laws to celebrate the holidays. Taking an unfamiliar shortcut, Mr. Harrington makes the biggest mistake of his life, leading his family down a terror-filled road with no end. This one is really, really good. I highly recommend watching Dead End. It's sort of like a Twilight Zone episode, but like made into a feature-length film. And like, it's a lot darker than a Twilight Zone episode or whatever. But like, this one's really good. It doesn't have a lot to do with Christmas, but it takes place on Christmas Eve. And there's no bonus features at all. But I really enjoyed this one, and it has Lin Shaye and Ray Wise. It has Lin Shaye and Ray Wise in it, and it's just, this one's really just great. I hope one day this gets released on Blu-ray, because it definitely needs a Blu-ray release. It takes some really dark turns. Usually, when I sit down to watch a movie, I'll pause it a couple times. I didn't pause this movie once. I didn't get up at all. I just sat there glued to the screen the whole time. It's very intense. Definitely recommend Dead End. Next, I want to talk about P2. So, it's Christmas Eve. The last employee to leave her office, ambitious corporate climber Angela, arrives in the deserted parking garage only to discover her car won't start. She's relieved when Thomas, a seemingly friendly security guard, comes along and offers to help. Unable to get the engine to start, he invites Angela to share a small Christmas meal with him. She laughs off the invitation, but it quickly becomes clear to her the situation is no laughing matter. Angered by her refusal, the psychotic Thomas knocks her out, ties her up in his office. Coming to, Angela realizes the only way she will live to see Christmas morning is to find a way to escape from P2. A stylish horror thriller from the filmmakers behind High Tension and the 2006 remake of The Hills Have Eyes, P2 builds to an unforgettable blood-curdling climax. There's also some special features. There's an audio commentary with the directors and filmmakers. This one, this is a really good commentary track. There's a new level fear, the making of P2, designing terror, tension nouveau, presenting Franck Calfoun. This one again, I highly recommend. I hope P2 gets a North American Blu-ray release one day. It did get a Blu-ray release, I think like Region 2 or something, Region 2 or 3, or does not have a Region 1 Blu-ray release, but I really hope it does one day. Alexander Aja produced this one, and this one's just really good. It's called P2 because it takes place in a parking garage, and P2 is the second level. That's where her car is, and the security guard's office is. But yeah, it's basically like a cat and mouse sort of movie. She's on the run. She's hiding from this guy, but she also fights back, and he's just absolutely insane. And this is a really crazy, intense movie. Takes place on Christmas Eve. I highly recommend this one, and I hope it gets a Blu-ray release one day. So I think next we are going to be talking about Jack Frost. So I'm not talking about the Michael Keaton Jack Frost, but I'm talking about a horror movie called Jack Frost. So on his way to be executed, the vehicle containing notorious serial killer Jack Frost collides with a hazardous chemical truck, turning Jack into a snow-covered mutant and unleashing him on the unsuspecting town of Snowminton, the snowman capital of the Midwest. Jack immediately takes advantage of his newfound freedom and blizzardly abilities to seek revenge on the bungling sheriff played by Christopher Allport that accidentally ended his cross-country killing spree. On his way to the sheriff, Jack terrorizes the snowman-themed town and murders its residents in a variety of winterized ways. Can the residents of Snowminton fight back against the psychopath snowman from hell, or they all end up in a snow-covered grave? Co-starring the beautiful Shannon Elizabeth from American Pie in one of her most infamous and revealing roles, and featuring colorful cinematography by Dean Lent, director Michael Cooney's staple of video stores and late-night TV is a gleefully gory horror comedy, and is coming to Blu-ray for the first time, fully restored in 2K from Vinegar Syndrome. This one I do recommend. It's pretty funny and goofy. It's not like one of the greatest movies of all time or anything, but it's definitely a lot of fun. This is Vinegar Syndrome's Blu-ray release. This is a really good release. It has scanned and restored in 2K from 35mm Volt Elements, commentary track with director Michael Cooney, video introduction from Michael Cooney, video interview with lead actor Scott McDonald, video interview with director of photography Dean Lent, cover artwork by Chris Garofalo, reversible cover art, and this one's a lot of fun. It's just a silly little fun movie that's like set during the Christmas season. I used to see this on video shelves all the time, and I also would see the sequel on video shelves, Jack Frost 2, The Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman. So this one, Jack the Chiller Killer is back, and he's mad as hell. An accidental lab experiment resurrected the evil snowman, but this time the crystal killer can't be stopped by fire, bullets, or even his worst enemy, chemical antifreeze. With revenge on his mind, Jack sets out to finish off his nemesis, Sheriff Sam, who's vacationing on a Caribbean island. Sam's balmy paradise turns into a winter terror land when Jack freezes the island and quickly ices everyone around him. No one can stop the chilling killing spree when Jack can travel as lethal liquid of fatal frosty flakes. Just when you thought... Oh my god. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the fridge. So this one is not as good as the first one. It's still pretty fun though. And there's no bonus features. And it's never been released on Blu-ray. I kind of hope Vinegar Syndrome does a Blu-ray release of this one too. Because it's still pretty good. Just not as good as the first one. It takes place a year later. And the sheriff from the first movie decides... Him and his wife decide to go vacation to a Caribbean island because to kind of get away from everything. He still feels very... he's got like PTSD from the first movie's events. So he just wants to get away. But Jack Frost ends up getting revived and he heads out to the Caribbean island and he has to face Jack Frost again. So it's pretty fun. It's even sillier than the first one. but it's still a pretty decent movie though. Like I would recommend both Jack Frost and Jack Frost 2 just because they're just kind of simple, fun little movies. So next, I'm going to talk about Santa's Sleigh. So it turns out that Santa Claus is not really the sweet, odd fellow that we all know and love. In fact, he's a devil, and the only thing that's kept his bad side in check was a bet he lost to an angel. Over 1,000 years of playing nice, the bet is up, and Santa is about to open up a can of holiday whoop-ass. The only glimmer of hope comes from an old man with a secret, his grandson, and his girlfriend. Brace yourself for one really bad Santa bent on spreading holiday fear. So this one is this is even better than the Jack Frost movies. Like, this is a really fun kind of horror comedy movie. It's only like an hour and 17 minutes too, but there's a commentary track that was pretty fun with writer and director David Steinman and producer Matthew Leonetti Jr., many featurettes, Sleigh Ride, Hell on Hooves, Populating Hell, Casting Santa's Sleigh, Taking the Reins, my first movie, deleted scenes, blooper reel, and trailers. Again, and there's also some Easter eggs too hidden in the menus. I highly recommend this one. This one's a lot of fun. So in this one, Santa is actually the son of Satan, and he lost a curling match against an angel. And so basically he had to be nice for 1,000 years. So the Santa we all know was only good because he lost a bet to an angel. But now he can go back killing people again because 1,000 years have passed and the bet is over. It's a lot of fun though. I definitely recommend this one too. So next I'm going to talk about Silent Night, Bloody Night. So a young man inherits a house in which his grandfather died in a fire that was once used as an insane asylum. When he puts it up for sale, an axe-wielding madman is hiding there and threatening anyone who comes near the house. Who is this strange murderer, and why do the local townspeople act so strange? In the 70s, Silent Night, Bloody Night was primarily a drive-in theater B-movie before disappearing into obscurity. However, in the mid-1980s, the film was featured on Elvira's movie Macabre when its exposure would begin in a cult following. So this one is really good. John Carradine is actually in this. There's no bonus features, but and it's only been released on DVD so far. But I highly recommend this one. This one's pretty good. It's one of the first slasher movies ever made too, and it's set on Christmas. I think it takes place on the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th. I think it takes place across 3 days. I could be wrong, but I believe that's how the movie unfolds. But I don't want to ruin it for you because there's a lot of weird plot twists and stuff, so I'm not going to say much more about it. But I highly recommend Silent Night, Bloody Night. Next, I'm going to talk about Silent Night, Bloody Night, The Homecoming. So the original movie came out in 72, I believe. This is a remake that came out in 2013, I think. The abandoned home of Wilford Butler, a wealthy but troubled man who committed suicide in 1987, has been willed to his grandson Jeffrey. The house has sat in disarray since Wilford's death, standing in the way of developers who want to turn the property into residential homes. Just before Christmas of 2012, many years after Wilford's death, Jeffrey and his lawyer appear in town to negotiate the sale of property, but an axe-wielding maniac has set up residence in the house and he doesn't take kindly to strangers. So this is really almost a scene-for-scene, like straightforward remake of the original. So the original movie is only like, I don't know, it's only like 80 minutes long or something. This movie is like 85 minutes long. I think the time codes are wrong though. But the first like hour of this movie covers the entire original movie, and then like the last 20 minutes are completely brand new stuff that wasn't in the original. So basically the first hour of the remake is like a condensed version of this movie with some new stuff at the end. This isn't that good though. Like the remake it's pretty decent, but it's just not great. I still think it's probably worth getting. Like, if you really like the original movie, you should probably check this one out because it's still pretty decent. There's director and producer's commentary, and there's a trailer. Now, the DVD mentions production stills, but I didn't see any production stills on the bonus. There's no way to find them on the disc that I can tell. But yeah, this one I would recommend it if you're a fan of the original. The original movie I definitely recommend, but this one I can't really recommend as much. It's still pretty decent though. So next, I'm going to talk about Silent Night, Bloody Night 2 Revival. So this is actually a direct sequel to the first movie. This is not a sequel to the remake. This is a sequel to the 1972 movie. After a death in the family, siblings Angelica and James Zachary travel to the small town of East Willard on Christmas Eve to pay their respects. They stay at a homely bed and breakfast where they learn that the legend of Black Peter, Santa Claus's vengeful brother. But when they find the lost journal of Jeffrey Butler, they discover the town has its own sordid history, one more rooted in reality. When the dark reflection of St. Nicholas emerges and begins to punish the eccentric townsfolk, the visitors find themselves in the middle of the mystery. Who is doing the deeds? Is Black Peter real, or is the truth closer to home? If they don't find out and put a stop to it, Christmas will turn into Garbage Day while the bodies pile up into a bloody heap. So this Garbage Day reference is actually a reference to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, which is a really fun movie. But yeah, this is actually pretty good. This is better than the remake. It's not as good as the original movie, but this is actually pretty decent. The original movie is public domain, so anybody can do a sequel or remake to it. So they didn't have to have any rights. But Dustin Ferguson directed this, and I haven't seen a whole lot of Dustin's movies yet, but he's done some pretty good, decent movies. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one though. There's no bonus features, but it's being released on Blu-ray, I think on the 29th of December of 2019. So it's probably out on Blu-ray by the time you see this video. But yeah, I definitely recommend this one. It's pretty good. And actually the Blu-ray will have a... I think it'll have the original movie. I think it'll have the original Silent Night, Bloody Night on the disc of the Blu-ray for this one. So you'll get two movies, actually, if you get that Blu-ray. But yeah, all three of these are pretty decent, especially the first one and the sequel. The remake, not so much, but it's still pretty... It's okay. So next, I'm going to talk about Don't Open Till Christmas. So it's Christmas time in London, the season of goodwill to all men, a time for celebration, a time for family, a time for presents. This year it's also the time for a masked maniac to be let loose on the streets. His intended victims are chosen at random, but they all have one thing in common. They are dressed in the following: white beard and bright red robes of Santa Claus. The killer selects different methods to fulfill his grisly task. One Santa has his throat cut, another is axed to death, a third is held face down in red-hot brazier, a fourth is castrated and left to bleed to death. The police are baffled as the horrific death toll rises, 14 corpses and only 3 killing days left until Christmas. So this one is actually pretty good. It's a really good... I would get the Mondo Macabro release. Yeah, Mondo Macabro release, because it seems to have the best transfer from what I understand. There's also a brand new anamorphic transfer from the negative, 52-minute making of, a documentary about Dick Randall, the producer. There's trailers, extensive production notes, and previews for other Mondo Macabro releases. But yeah, this one's really good. I highly recommend Don't Open Till Christmas. It's a really fun kind of Christmas horror movie. The next one we have is Santa Claus. Sexy B-movie scream queen Raven Quinn won't be having the happiest of holidays this year. Her marriage is falling apart, and Wayne, a quiet next-door neighbor, has developed a macabre obsession for her. As Wayne's delusional fantasies grow more dangerous and bizarre, he transforms into the most frightening serial killer ever to stalk the streets on a cold winter's night. Santa Claus, mercilessly butchering anyone who stands between him and the object of his psychotic desire. The red-suited maniac tracks Raven down to the set of her latest erotic horror movie. Here the grim madness of reality collides head-on with cinematic fantasy and a blood frenzy of psychopathic mayhem, leading up to a shocking confrontation between Raven and this unstoppable monster that will have you shivering with fear. So the DVD contents, there's the feature film, Santa Claus, there's outtakes, interview with Debbie Rochon, interview with the director of photography, Bill Hinsman, and a full-color booklet including liner notes. So yeah, there's like a booklet in here, has like a bunch of little liner notes. But yeah, this one isn't, it's not good, but it's also not bad. I would recommend watching it, actually. It's fine. It's just not amazing or anything. So, next, we're going to talk about Black Christmas. So, this is one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. The college town of Bedford is receiving an unwelcome guest this Christmas. As the residents of sorority house Pi Kappa Sigma prepare for the festive season, a stranger begins to stalk the house. A series of obscene phone calls start to plague the residents of the sorority, and it becomes clear that a psychopath is homing in on the sisters with dubious intentions. And though the police try to trace the calls, they discover that nothing is as it seems during this Black Christmas. Stuffed with extremely tense moments, chilling cinematography, amazing characters, and long-lasting dread, this genuine classic is completely deserving of every bit of respect and admiration it's picked up over the last 40 years. So, there's a new 2K scan from the negative, audio commentary by producer-director Bob Clark, audio commentary by actors Keir Dullea and John Saxon, audio commentary by actor Nick Mancuso as Billy, who's the killer in this movie. Then Disc 2 has a new interview with Art Hindle, 12 Days of Black Christmas documentary, Black Christmas Revisited, Black Christmas Legacy, On-Screen Black Christmas, archival interviews with actors Olivia Hussey, Margot Kidder, Art Hindle, and John Saxon, and producer-director Bob Clark, theatrical trailer, TVs, radio spots, alternate title sequence, and more. This one I highly recommend. Actually, it's from the same director as A Christmas Story. This movie came out in 1974. A Christmas Story came out in 1983. So he has done two of the best Christmas movies of all time. Next, we have Black Christmas, the remake. You can get it rated or unrated. But the horror classic Black Christmas, which spawned a wave of hit slasher films, is reimagined for a new generation of films in this terrifying remake. A group of sorority sisters snowed in over the holiday break tries to desperately survive the night as a relentless killer terrorizes and murders them one by one. Featuring an old-school slasher story, the modern horror touch of director Glenn Morgan, and a cast of today's hottest stars including Michelle Trachtenberg, Lacey Chabert, Katie Cassidy, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Black Christmas is a thrilling, blood-soaked screamfest. So this remake, it's not as good as the original movie, but it's still pretty good. And there's What Have You Done, the remaking of Black Christmas. May All Your Christmases Be Black, a filmmaker's journey, deleted scenes, and 3 alternate endings. The original Black Christmas is really good, very tense, very dark, and this is just a really good movie. The 2006 remake is okay, but it's not amazing. I also saw the 2019 Black Christmas movie in theaters. It's nothing like the first two. It kind of tells its own story. It's not as good as the original, but I would still recommend you see the new 2019 Black Christmas as well. But yeah, so all 3 Black Christmas movies are pretty decent, especially the original. The original is like a near perfect. The 2006 remake and the 2019 movie are not as good, but I still recommend you to watch all of them. I also watched To All a Good Night. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house Santa Claus is stirring, and he's not bringing gifts. 5 young female boarders at the Calvin Finishing School have set their sights on a festive Christmas holiday romp. They have just drugged their house mother and smuggled their boyfriends into the house. But their fun-filled, promiscuous frolic will soon turn into a blood-soaked nightmare when a sadistic maniac dressed as Santa Claus arrives to deliver some holiday cheer, or maybe that's fear. The insane Santa Claus starts slashing his way through the house, and the gory body count begins. So you better watch out, as this Santa knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Jennifer Runyon, in her film debut, stars in this 1980s slasher cult horror favorite, directed by David Hess, and written and produced by Alex Rebar. Now see it in glorious HD for the first time. There's also interviews with stars Jennifer Runyon and Katherine Harrington, and with writer-producer Alex Rebar, and an original trailer. This one's pretty decent. It's the very first Santa slasher movie ever made, though. That's the most notable thing about it. I actually recommend this one, though. Next, I have Christmas Evil. So, when he was a boy, Harry idolized Santa Claus, but one Christmas Eve, he witnessed something horrifying that forever shattered his innocent understanding of Santa. Now an adult, Harry wants to embody the pure Santa Claus he grew up loving. He works at a toys factory and keeps records of who's been naughty and nice. But the spirit of Christmas isn't what it used to be, and he can't take it. So garbed in his red suit, Harry decides that the only thing he can do is to become Santa himself and make all of the naughty townspeople pay him blood. Vinegar Syndrome is proud to present Lewis Jackson's cult favorite Christmas Evil, newly restored in 4K and on Blu-ray for the first time. Special features include new 4K restoration from 35mm Elements, 2 commentaries with director Lewis Jackson, commentary with filmmaker John Waters, archival interviews with directors Lewis Jackson and actor Brandon Maggart, original theatrical trailer, deleted scenes, actor screen test, storyboard galleries, vintage test screening, comment cards. So this one came out the same year as To All a Good Night. To All a Good Night came out in January, and this one came out in November. They're both the first 2 Christmas slasher movies, and this one is actually John Waters' favorite Christmas movie. John Waters is a pretty notable director, and this is a really good one. I highly recommend Christmas Evil. It's one of the best Christmas horror movies. It has a very low body count. It's like a character piece. It mostly focuses on the characters' lives, but yeah, it's definitely a really good one. So next we have Silent Night, Deadly Night. So community leaders tried to stop the release. The PTA fought to ban it. Now one of the most controversial slasher films of all time is back in a new high-definition release. This new edition of the horror holiday favorite has been restored from the original vaulted film negative. Silent Night, Deadly Night is the heartwarming story of little Billy Chapman, who is traumatized by his parents' Christmas Eve murder, then brutalized by sadistic orphanage nuns. But when grown-up Billy is to dress as Jolly St. Nick, he goes on a Yuletide rampage to punish the naughty. Santa Claus is coming to town, and this time he's got an axe. Robert Brian Wilson and Scream Queen Linnea Quigley star in this jaw-dropping horror classic that a nation of angry mothers still cannot stop. So, bonus features include new HD transfer from the original camera negative, theatrical trailer, radio spots, TV spots, the unrated version, new HD transfer from the original camera negative with standard definition inserts, Sleigh Bells Ring, the story of Silent Night, Deadly Night, featuring interviews with writer Michael Hickey, co-producers Scott J. Schneed and Dennis Whitehead, editor second unit director Michael Spence, composer Perry Botkin, and actors Robert Brian Wilson and Linnea Quigley. New Silent Night, Deadly Night film locations then and now. New audio commentary with Robert Brian Wilson and Scott J. Schneed. Audio commentary with Michael Hickey, Perry Botkin, Scott J. Schneed, and Michael Spence. Audio interviews with director Charles E. Sellier Jr. and Santa's Stocking of Outrage. Poster and still gallery. Again, this is another one I highly recommend. Silent Night, Deadly Night is probably my favorite horror Christmas movie. So Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 Ricky is being released from a mental hospital. He takes with him the terrifying memory of his brother Billy's death and the memory of Mother Superior, who brought about his brother's demise. For Ricky, starting a new life means avenging his brother's death, which sets him on a blind journey of relentless revenge, leading ultimately to Mother Superior. And when he gets to her, not even her faith will be enough to stop Ricky, as he follows in the family tradition of Christmas carnage. So this has a new 2K scan of the archival theatrical print, new audio commentary with director, co-writer Lee Harry, and actors Eric Freeman and James Newman. Sleigh Bells Ring Again, the story of Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, featuring interviews with co-writer, director Lee Harry, actors Eric Freeman, James Newman, Elizabeth Caton, Daryl Gilboa, Kenny McCabe, and special effects artist Christopher Biggs. New garbage days are here again. Look at the film's locations. Ricky Today, a short film featuring a 2018 interview with Ricky Caldwell. New I Don't Sleep, an extended interview with makeup effects artist Christopher Biggs, which is one of the best interviews I've ever seen. Audio commentary with Lee Harry, co-writer Joseph H. Earl, and James L. Newman, and theatrical trailer. So this movie, the first half of this movie is just a recap of the original movie. It's mostly just stock footage from the first movie. The second half, the movie has its own story, and this one's a lot of fun. It's really silly and goofy. I actually do recommend this one, even though the first half is a little hard to get through. So next, we've got this set right here. It's a 3-disc set. It has Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out, Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation, and Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker. There are no bonus features on this, but Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out. Ricky Caldwell, the notorious Killer Santa, awakens from a 6-year coma after being kept alive on life support by a slightly crazed doctor experimenting with ESP and other special abilities. Ricky targets a young clairvoyant blind woman named Laura, who is traveling with her brother Chris and his girlfriend Jerry to their grandmother's house for Christmas Eve. Ricky decides to go after her, leaving a trail of dead bodies in his wake. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation. A female reporter investigates the death of a woman while on fire, leapt off a building to her death. Her investigation leads to her to discover the existence of a strange cult dedicated to the Egyptian god Isis, and the cult wants her as its new queen. Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker. A young boy sees his father killed by a toy that was anonymously delivered to his house. After that, he too is too traumatized to speak, and his mother must deal with both him and the loss of her husband. Meanwhile, a toy maker named Joe Petto builds some suspicious-looking toys, and a mysterious man creeps around both the toy store and the boy's house. But who is responsible for the killer toys? So Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 is probably the weakest movie in the series, but it has Bill Moseley in it as Ricky Caldwell. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 is one of the better movies in the franchise, and it has music from Richard Band. And Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, the notable thing about that one is that when the original movie came out in 1984, Mickey Rooney was really against it, but Mickey Rooney stars in the 5th movie. So I always thought that was like, it makes him look like a hypocrite. So the first Silent Night, Deadly Night came out in 84. The second one came out in 87. The third one came out in 89. Fourth one came out in 90. And the fifth one came out in 1991. This is a really good set. The only bonus features are a couple of trailers, though. So next we've got Silent Night. So you better watch out. In 1984, the slasher classic Silent Night, Deadly Night stunned audiences, was banned across America and remains the most notorious Christmas movie in history. Now, Santa is back, and he's got a brand new bag of tricks as the small Midwestern town prepares for its annual Christmas Eve parade. Sheriff, which is played by Malcolm McDowell, actually. This is a much better Christmas movie than Home Alone 5, though. So Malcolm McDowell is actually pretty... I'm glad he's in this one, because Home Alone 5 was awful. And actually, I think they came out the same year. So he was in this. He was in 2 Christmas movies in 2012. And his deputy, Jamie King from My Bloody Valentine 3D and Heart of Dixie, discovered that a maniac in a Santa suit is murdering those he judges naughty. Their sins, porn, adultery, greed, and he will make sure they rest in heavenly pieces. Donald Logue, Ellen Wong, Lisa Marie, and Brandon Fair co-star in this brutal and darkly humorous tale of Christmas gone bad. There's also behind the scenes and deleted scenes. This one's really good. It's not really a remake. It's more like, this is like basically Silent Night, Deadly Night 6. It's got its own story. There's a few throwbacks and homages to the first 2 movies, though. There's one scene where a character is told to take out the trash, and he's like, "What is it? Garbage day?" So it's a reference to the like very iconic line from the second movie. There's also a few deaths that are basically pulled from the first movie as well. But this one's really good. I actually recommend you to get all the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies. They're all really good. So next, we're done with the horror movies. Next, I want to talk about 2 more Christmas movies. So next, we're going to talk about It's a Wonderful Life. So voted the number 1 most inspiring film of all time by AFI's 100 Years, 100 Cheers. It's a Wonderful Life has had just that, with the endearing message that no one is a failure who has friends. Frank Capra's heartwarming masterpiece continues to endure, and after 70 years, this beloved classic still remains a powerful and moving as the day it was made. So this is one of the best Christmas movies of all time. Disc 1 has the feature film, the original black and white version, the making of It's a Wonderful Life, a documentary featurette hosted by Tom Bosley, and the original theatrical trailer. Disc 2 has the colorized version. I refuse to watch the colorized version because this movie was made to be black and white, and I feel like that's the way you should watch it. But this is a really, really good, heartfelt movie. I highly recommend this one. It's pretty good. So last, we have Love Actually. Feel the love this holiday season with Love Actually 10th Anniversary Edition. Funny, charming, and heartwarming, this delightful romantic comedy follows 8 couples whose lives intersect shortly before Christmas. Headlined by an incredible roster of stars, this beloved film also features early movie appearances by Martin Freeman from the Hobbit franchise, Andrew Lincoln from The Walking Dead, January Jones from Mad Men, and Thomas Sangster from Game of Thrones. From the makers of Bridget's Diary and Notting Hill, it's the perfect companion for every Christmas. There's also over 30 minutes of deleted scenes, the music of Love Actually, the storytellers, Kelly Clarkson, The Trouble with Love Is music video, Billy Mack, Christmas is All Around music video. So Billy Mack is actually a character in this movie. It's not a real person. So they made kind of a silly music video to kind of go along with this. There's also feature commentary with director Richard Curtis, actors Hugh Grant, Bill Nye, and Thomas Sangster. This is one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. I'm not afraid to admit this, but every time I watch this, I do get a little teary-eyed. It's really, really good. Like, this is an exceptional, very emotional movie. It's very heartfelt. It's pretty much a perfect movie. It's like, this one's really amazing. I definitely recommend this one too. So that about does it. To wrap things up, I'm going to go through my top 5 Christmas movies of all time. So, number 5 is Black Christmas. This is in 5th place for my top 5 Christmas movies of all time. It's just very intense, very dark, but it's really good. It's very suspenseful. Like, you never know what's going to happen next. And the ending is one of the craziest endings in a horror movie. It's like really, really crazy. So number 4 is Jingle All the Way. This is my fourth favorite Christmas movie of all time. Also highly recommend this one. It's just a lot of fun. I would say that number 3 is It's a Wonderful Life. I was going to put it at number 2, but I would have to put it at number 3 because after watching Love Actually again, I would put Love Actually as my second favorite Christmas movie ever made. And of course, Christmas Story is my number 1 favorite. So yeah, Black Christmas, Jingle All the Way, It's a Wonderful Life, Love Actually, and A Christmas Story are my top 5 favorites. I highly recommend you to get all 5 of those. But yeah, so basically, I hope you guys had a really good Christmas this year. Maybe check out some of these movies. This part's way longer than part 1. Wasn't expecting it to be that long. But yeah, basically check the description below to find my Facebook page, my Twitter page, my Instagram page, and my Patreon. Go there, check all that stuff out. And I maybe like the video, subscribe, share this with your friends. So yeah, this was pretty good. So I hope I'll see you guys for another video soon. I should have another one coming out pretty soon, actually. So take care. And these cookies are like really good. I don't know if you've ever had them, but these are some exceptional like sugar cookies. Like you could just get them from Walmart. But yeah, they're pretty awesome. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time. Goodbye.